Sometimes I forget how beautiful downtown Orlando is and Lake Eola area specifically. So I'm just spending a nice, beautiful day down here by Lake Eola, and by golly, if I don't just need a beer. Welcome to Big Papa's Daytime Drinking Show. So as I said, I'm sitting here at the banks of Lake Eola in downtown Orlando, and if you ever needed a beer, you're in luck. Because right across the street, it's Persimmon Hallow Brewing. Now, it's not the original Persimmon Hallow located in DeLand, Florida, but it is a satellite brewery that does do their own brewing on site. Everything besides their core brands. Their core brands will always be brewed in DeLand. However, this one's allowed to do some one-offs, some specialty beers, and other stuff like that. So let's drop in and enjoy a couple beers, shall we? Okay, so first we have the Daytona Dirty Blonde. It's a blonde ale, comes in at 4.1% with 20 IBUs. Nice straw pale color into that. Very smooth, easy drinking. Definitely the perfect beer to be lounging out by the beach and watching the waves rolling while you sip on this little beauty. That's a very good one. Fantastic. So beer number two is one of their limited edition beers. It's the Sunshine Special. This is a honey beer that comes in at 6% ABV. Now honey beers are typically ales or lagers that are of course brewed with honey in them. So, again, light, clean. It's not super sweet forward. It's not punching you in the face with all that sweetness from the honey. It just gives it a nice subtlety and a little bit of a complexity to that otherwise very simple beer. So very tasty. So what a lot of people don't know is that during the birth of Christ, when the three messiahs, the three wise men visited Christ, they didn't only bring frankincense, myrrh, and gold. They also brought a delicious porter from Orlando, Florida. That's why they named this one the Three Wise Guys. Porter, 6.6%, 25 IBUs. Good coffee roast on that. Not super overpowering, not super complex. Nice simple porter, the way porter should be done. A lot of great roasted elements from that coffee in there. Super tasty. And like I told you guys many times, I don't usually get into the darker beers too often. And as far as stouts and porters, it's just not my go-to. But this was very tasty. I drink a couple of these. And then finally, the backbone of every brewery is their IPA, as I've always said. You can tell how good a brewer is by their pale lager. But you know, sustainability comes from the awesome IPAs. So this is the Beach Hippie IPA, 7.1% ABV, 52 IBUs. Very strong flavor, very strong aroma, great beer. They use Cascade, Chinook, Autumn, and Willamette hops for this one. But even with all that hop body, it's not super hoppy, it's not super cringy, but it's very balanced from all the malt that's added to it also. So it's a fantastic IPA as usual. So yeah, if you found yourself in downtown Orlando near Lake Eola, do yourself a favor, swing by Persimmon Hallow Brewing here and enjoy a couple flights. You'll love it. All right, so as I always do, I always had a great time at local breweries, and Persimmon Hallow is no different. So if you find yourself in the downtown Orlando area, please stop by, let them know Big Papa sent you, and have a couple of their great beers. So let's transition over into our Rebrews section now, shall we? And I don't usually like to use notes, but this one is just so intense that I've got my note sheet here that I gotta share something with you. We're doing Collected Elevation from DSSOLVR Brewing. This is out of North Carolina, the Asheville area specifically. It is a New England IPA that comes in at 7.2% ABV. Now for this collaboration, it's between DSSOLVR, Brewmari, Greenman, and Zillicoa Beer Company. And each of the breweries decided to use a specific malt from Riverbend Malt Company, a specific or any yeast they wanted from White Labs yeast laboratories, and then any kind of ingredient they wanted that was locally sourced. So for dissolver specifically, they went with the River Bend Southern Select Malt, the White Labs Coastal Haze blend hops, and then house-made marshmallows from French Broad chocolatiers. So, and that all comes together, and then during the brewing process, they hopped it with Huell melon, then dry hopped it with Huell melon and Madagascar vanilla beans, and then double dry hopped it with Galaxy, Equinaut, and Mandarin and Bavaria hops. So as you can hear, there's so much going on in this beer, and they like to call it a fluffy IPA, which is their version of a milkshake IPA, but they cut down on the vanilla, jack up the marshmallow, and said, we're not putting any lactose in it. So as you can see, it's a beautiful, thick body, just like you expect out of a milkshake IPA. Beautiful notes in there. Let's give it a shot. Wow. That's a lot of intense flavors all at once. So, you know, I definitely taste the melon in there. A lot of hop. Typically with your more milkshake IPAs, it's slightly on the sweeter side. They don't do that here. Subtle vanilla-ness to it. Wow, it's so complex. There's so many different flavors just popping out. It's like a carnival in your mouth. It's crazy. So for Collected Elevation, Dissolver's version of it, I'm gonna throw it a 4.25. It's just a fun experience overall. So if you can find it, I definitely suggest you grab it. I'd like to find the versions that the other breweries did as well. So again, that's a Collected Elevation Dissolver version, 4.25%. As much as I love most beers, sometimes a barrel-aged beer just hits differently. Like this barrel-aged stout here I'm drinking by Funky Buddha, the Void Shaker. But then I got to thinking, I don't know a whole lot about the barrel aging process. So why don't we kick it over to Professor Big Papa and see what barrel aging is all about.
The all-holy barrel, the container of all sacred elixirs and high alcohol beer. But what goes into such a barrel?
Hey, Professor, you sound ridiculous. Can you, get rolling, please? Creeper, get out of here. This is my segment. This guy. All right. So like Big Papa said, it's Professor Big Papa here. Let's talk about barrel aging, shall we? So first off, what is a barrel-aged beer? Well, that's any beer that's held in a barrel that's either aged in the barrel or aged in contact with wooden staves. You'll see certain things like barrel-aged or aged with white oak staves. And it just means the same thing. It's sitting in or on wood for a period of time, depending on the brewer's desire. But what kind of barrels? See, pretty much any kind of barrel will work. You could use a bourbon barrel, which is super common, or wine barrels are more common. But there's even brewers that are getting a little more crazy, doing tequila barrels, gin barrels. Pretty much any kind of barrel will work. But the agreed upon type of barrel is gonna be an oak barrel. Whether it be American oak or French oak. It really depends on what the brewer wants to get out of that beer. Now, you have two types of oak barrels. That's gonna be the American oak or the French oak. With the American oak, you get more intense woodiness and that wood flavors, and that's due to the wider grains inside of the oak staves and slats. Whereas in the French oak, you get softer, less intense woody notes, and that's due to their tighter grain threading. But there's two types of cooking that, because you're not gonna use a raw barrel. You're always gonna use some kind of cooked barrel, whether it be charred or toasted. Now with the toasted oak barrel, that's gonna be more of your wine barrels that they ferment wine in, and that's gonna give you notes of vanilla and caramel. Whereas your charred, that they use in most spirits is going to give you harder, smokier notes. And you can definitely tell the difference between the two, whether it's going to be that slightly sweeter beer or that really smokier, bourbonier beer, for instance. Now with that, why are they using oak barrels in the first place? See, those oak barrels add vanillin and tannins, and that helps to balance the beer and promote the head retention. You know, it keeps the beer a little fresher for longer without jeopardizing any of its qualities. But how long do you keep it in the barrel? Again, depends on what the brewer wants to do. If you're looking for like those bourbon and wood notes, and that's all you're really trying to get out of it, 1 to 2 months will do the job. However, you're looking for those strong floral vanilla notes, that well-rounded, full body aging process, then you're looking at about 6 to 12 months. But again, it's all got to do with what the brewer wants to do. And that's the whole thing. Like we talk about all the time, beer being such a complex science, it's like what works for one brewer doesn't necessarily work for all brewers. And temperature also plays effect, obviously. Now when you're aging stuff, you usually want to keep it at a constant temperature, usually between 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's just to make sure you're getting the same quality product throughout. However, some brewers have found that if they change the temperature throughout the aging process, it promotes those grains in the wood to separate and to tighten, separate and tighten, which helps to absorb and extract more flavors out of those barrels. So at the end of the day, it's just a beer that's sat in some wood for a while. And depending on what that brewer wants, you get a delicious concoction. Back over to you, Big Papa. Oh, hey, welcome back. Sorry, feeling a little snacky. Would anybody like a pistachio? Nope. Okay, more for me. The only problem is when you get snacky and you decide to eat something like nuts, you just need something to wash it down with. Better yet, let's chug it down. It's chug time. All right, so for today's chug, since I was feeling that pistachio mood, I decided to go with Crackin Nuts by Oozlefinch Brewery out of Virginia. This is a traditional style Pilsner that they took a crap load of apricot, added it to it, which then gives it this beautiful hazy color. Nice fruity aroma in the nose. And then they said, yeah, we like nuts, let's just put some crushed pistachio in there also. So supposedly it's supposed to give it that subtle nut finish to it. 5.5%, beautiful body. I'm excited, here we go. Prost. Very nice. Very, very apricot-y. Still that nice tartness, not tartness, but like you can taste that subtle hopness from the Saaz hops they use to make Pilsners. Good, very fruity, a lot fruitier than I thought. Oh, and there's the nut. Interesting. So it starts off super fruity, super apricot-y, and then just settles, and it's like nothing. And it's like, oh, I just swallowed some pistachios. That was fun. That was very tasty. So that, again, that was Crackin Nuts by Oozlefinch Brewing. There we have it. As always, thank you so much for joining us at Big Papa's Daytime Drinking Show. And if there's anything you want to know, please like, comment, subscribe. Let's keep this thing going. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Until then, keep on chugging.